Hey everyone, welcome back to Tan's Top 10 channel. Today I am going to be ranking all the new releases from 2022 that I watched. I watched 44 new releases in total from the year 2022 last year. And so I'm going to be ranking every single one of them from my least favorite to my favorite movie of the year. And there are a couple movies that I didn't get the time to check out. Two of them I do own. First one is Crimes of the Future, the new David Cronenberg movie. I didn't really get time to watch it. This is kind of the movie, one of the movies that you kind of have to be in the mood to watch that I heard, and just was never really in the mood to sit down and watch it. And the other one is Men, the new Alex Garland movie. He directed Ex Machina, which I loved, and Annihilation, which I was pretty big fan of. Didn't love it, but I liked it. And Men is another one where I heard you just kind of be in the right mood to watch it, and I just never felt like really sitting down to watch it, but I will eventually get into those, who knows when. Some of the other movies that I didn't get a chance to check out that I wanted to are The Whale, the new movie with Brendan Fraser, directed by Darren Aronofsky. I love Darren Aronofsky as a director. The Wrestler is probably my favorite movie of his, and I heard The Whale is pretty much a lot like that. The Fabelmans, Steven Spielberg's new movie. Didn't get a chance to check that out yet. I didn't go to theaters to watch it. I'm kind of waiting maybe for it to come out on Blu-ray or 4K, then I'll watch it. Violent Night, the Christmas Die Hard, David Harbour playing Santa Claus, killing people. Looked like a lot of fun. Wanted to check it out. Just didn't get to the theaters to see it. Babylon, the new Damien Chazelle movie that is like over 3 hours long. I wanted to see it, but it came out, the same weekend or a weekend after Avatar 2, and I just did not feel like seeing another 3-hour movie in theaters. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I am not a big fan of the Shrek franchise, but I heard a lot of good things about this one, and the animation style looks a lot like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I was very intrigued by, so I wanted to check it out, kind of waiting for it to come to streaming. And then the last one I wanted to see was Tar, directed by Todd Fields with Cate Blanchett. She's getting a lot of the movie's getting a lot of positive reviews, and she's getting a lot of praise for her performance. I saw some clips from the movie. It looks very good. I've never actually seen a Todd Fields movie, so this might be my first one, but like I said, didn't get to see that one yet. So those are all the movies that I wanted to see. Just didn't get time to go to the theaters, check them out, or didn't get time to sit down and watch them yet at home. And one movie that I didn't see that I just don't really ever plan on watching is Black Adam. I was interested in seeing it before the whole DC scandal came about, like where all those movies pretty much just mean nothing now. Bringing back Henry Cavill as Superman, like why would you give away your biggest secret surprise in the marketing? Like that was just kind of stupid that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson kind of pretty much promoted that to promote the movie, and the movie did not perform well, so that I don't think we'll ever see Black Adam for quite a while at least. So have no interest in seeing that. I'm kind of superhero movied out, so yeah, Black Adam, that was one of the few movies that I just don't ever plan on watching from this year. Getting into the movies that I actually did check out in 2022, my least favorite movie of the year, hands down, this is a hard rock bottom. One of the worst movies I've seen in a while. One of the most disappointing as well. That is Jurassic World Dominion. Now, I actually liked the first Jurassic World. It's big, dumb, stupid fun. It's probably the second best in the Jurassic Park franchise, I think. Fallen Kingdom had some decent sequences in it, but overall that movie was just a mess. It was really stupid, had some really dumb ideas. But one of the cool things was the ending where pretty much dinosaurs are just going to go roam the earth. That is an awesome end point for you, and like build up to your third and final movie in your trilogy. And what do? They fucking waste that idea and instead focus on locusts destroying crops and big corporate espionage, bring back all the original characters, and all they do is just sneak around, build this entire corporation building, and it's just like, ooh, these guys are, the big corporate business is evil, and like, let's focus on that. Fuck you. Do you know what people come to a Jurassic Park movie for? Fucking dinosaurs ripping people up and fucking wrecking havoc on everyone. and you have the free reign to do whatever you want with dinosaurs roaming the earth. There's so many cool ideas you could do with that. And they fucking butchered that idea so quick in this movie. And let's just get this out of the way right away. No one gives a flying fuck about the characters from the Jurassic World franchise. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are good actors. Their characters are fucking terrible. We don't give a shit about their relationship or anything. The little girl from Fallen Kingdom, this movie just started out with a fucking T-Rex just ripping her head off, biting that shit right off. You know, getting the Richard Schiff from Lost World, getting ripped in half by two T-Rexes. That's what should have happened to that girl, because she caused so many fucking deaths in between the span of Fallen Kingdom and Dominion. They're like, anyone that died from a dinosaur in these two movies, it's all her fault. She should be fucking drawn and quartered in the streets. Anyways, the only good thing about this movie is there is one sequence, I don't even know where the fuck that sequence took place, but it's the one where Chris Pratt's riding around on a dirt bike through the city, and like there's some dinosaurs let loose and the velociraptors are chasing them. That one sequence was pretty fun as far as the action goes and dinosaur action goes. Other than that, this fucking movie sucks. The ending of this movie is terrible. There are like 9 characters at the end of this movie that are running around this facility trying to get out, trying to escape all the dinosaurs. Not a single fucking one of them dies from a dinosaur. You have 9 characters and you don't kill a single one. Where's the tension in your movie? It's fucking out the window. Fuck this movie. I hate it. I'm done. Moving on to number 43 or whatever number I'm on. You know what? I'm not done, actually. Another reason why I hate this fucking movie is they promote in the fucking marketing and the trailers and everything that there's this big, ginormous T-Rex motherfucker that they create, and it's like, you even got Sam Neill in the trailer about to fall asleep, but he's like, the world's biggest predator they've ever seen. This fucking T-Rex is like a foot taller than the one from the original movie. When I hear that the biggest predator the world's ever seen, this motherfucker better be 2 times the size of the T-Rex from the first Jurassic Park movie. Not a fucking foot taller and a little fatter. God damn, I hate this fucking movie. Never make another Jurassic Park movie ever again. The first one is incredible, perfect. The rest of these movies, big, dumb dog shit. Fuck this franchise. It's done. Anyways. Number 43 is probably everyone's least favorite movie of the year. It's my second least favorite, definitely. And that is Morbus. Throw all the memes you want at this movie. It deserves them. Now, I actually didn't watch this movie until quite a few months after it released. I actually only watched this maybe a month ago. I wanted to watch this, giving it a fair shot, letting everyone calm down with the memes and the jokes and the hatred for this movie. And I was like, it can't be that bad. It's a nice short movie. Maybe there's some decent stuff in it. Matt Smith is okay in this movie. He's kind of entertaining. Other than that, this movie fucking is that bad. It's as bad as everyone says. I do like this lenticular cover, though. That's kind of cool. That's probably the best thing from this movie. Just stop letting Jared Leto lead your movies. Like, he just got cast in what the fuck? He got cast in some movie. I can't think right now. And I'm not looking forward to whatever movie that was. Actually, you know what? I'm going to look it up right now. That's what it was. He just got cast in the new Tron movie, Tron Ares or some shit. No one's excited for that movie now because you put Jared Leto in the leading role. I like Jared Leto. I enjoy some of 30 Seconds to Mars music. He can be good in movies. I thought he was really fun in House of Gucci. But him leading movies it's not what you want. He is barely doing anything in this movie. He looks like he is sleeping, which I was doing almost while watching this movie. Matt Smith is pretty decent. I like him as an actor. I like him in House of the Dragon and stuff like that. So I thought he was pretty decent in the movie. Jared Harris in this movie, did he even have a name? Did he even have a character name? This guy was in Chernobyl a couple of years ago and gave one of the best TV performances I've seen in the past while. This movie, he could not give a flying fuck about. Also, Hollywood in general, stop making PG-13 vampire movies. There is not a single drop of blood in this movie. When I hear they're making a vampire movie, I want that motherfucker rated R. I want it like Blade or Let the Right One In. I want it bloody as fuck. Vampires suck your blood out, and this movie does not. They have blue blood. It's blue artificial blood. Fuck that. And maybe the worst part of this entire movie is the two post-credit scenes. Holy fucking flying dog shit. Who thought these were a good idea? These are hands down the two worst post-credit scenes I've ever seen in any movie. Not just superhero movies, any movie ever. These have got to be the worst. The first one is fucking Michael Keaton, an Oscar-nominated actor, not giving a shit about this movie. You know, he's just hoping that fucking check clears. You can tell. And what does he do? He gets like fucking transferred, like zapped out of prison into a different fucking timeline or whatever. And then the second one, he tracks down Morbius in his like wingsuit in the middle of the desert. Like, what the fuck? Fucking Michael Morbius is just driving in the desert, and Vulture just comes out of nowhere. He's like, hey, yeah, I don't know. I just got transported here. I think it's got something to do with Spider-Man. Like, what? Fucking Spider-Man shoots webs. Like, what? Anyways, he's like, must do with Spider-Man. We should team up. And Michael Morbius is like, I'm listening. Fucking no one gives a shit about any of your future movies. Fuck Morbius. Movie sucks ass. I even tried to give it a fair shot. I am 100% honest with you. I tried to give this movie a fair shot. Fuck this movie. Coming in at number 42 is a Netflix movie a lot of people probably haven't heard of. It's called Look Both Ways. I watched this one with my wife. This is definitely her kind of movie. I don't really get into Netflix original movies and stuff like that unless they're, you know, good, I guess. This one, it was just fine. It's not the kind of movie that I would sit down and watch by myself, but like I said, this is the kind of movie my wife likes, and so I wanted to sit down and watch it with her. And it is a harmless, fun enough, fine time. I just don't remember anything about this movie. I think the lead actress was pretty good in it. And I think, wasn't Luke Wilson? Luke Wilson was in this movie. He was kind of fun. Other than that, this movie is just kind of forgettable. And so that's why it's at the bottom, or near the bottom of this list. Like I said, if this is your kind of movie, you might enjoy it. It's just not what I'm interested in. I love my wife. We do not have similar tastes in movies at all. Speaking of not great Netflix movies, coming in at number 41 is the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Now, this has got to be what? Probably like the third reboot of this franchise within the past decade. And they fucking suck so bad. I will give this movie one positive. The kills were pretty decent. There was some decent gore, some decapitation, some guts spilling out. I enjoyed those. And the movie is very short. So two positives. Good kills, very short. The rest of this movie fucking sucks. The characters are terrible, terribly written. You don't give a shit about them. You just want them to die, which they do pretty well. It kind of looks like shit. They try to do the Halloween 2018 thing where they bring back this not iconic, but this character from previous movies. The first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie from back in the 70s, they tried to bring this Sally character back and like have this final showdown against Leatherface, and they fucked that up big time. Whereas Halloween 2018 did a pretty decent job with bringing Laurie back and making you care about her. Sally, you don't give a shit about her, and she is in and out of this movie within 10 minutes, and she goes out pretty fine. I think she get like a chainsaw right in the gut, so that's pretty fun. I enjoyed that, but I think this movie did well enough that we're getting a sequel. I'll probably watch it just for, if they have good kills, but other than that, this movie fucking stunk. Speaking of Halloween, coming in at number 40 is Halloween Ends, and thank God it did. This is maybe my most disappointing movie of the year. I'm looking at the rest of the movies that I've watched. I think this might be the most disappointing movie of the year for me. I really liked Halloween 2018. I did not really like Halloween Kills at all. It had It had good kills, but that script is terrible. Holy fuck, does that script suck? And so I was not really looking forward to Halloween Ends, but I was getting excited. It's very hard not to get excited for a new Halloween movie. I love horror movies, and so it was very hard not to get excited for this. The marketing was decent, but I don't know, something about it just kind of seemed off for me. And I did not go see this in theaters. I watched it, I think it was like on Peacock or whatever the fuck. And thank God I did, because I did not like this movie pretty much at all. So I have the Letterboxd app where you can like rank and review your own like movies and give your own reviews of movies. And I reviewed this movie on that, and out of 5 stars, I gave it 1.5 stars. A half a star for the final fight between Laurie and Michael Myers. Another half star for not having an ambiguous ending. Jesus. That actually kill off, I mean, spoilers if you haven't seen the movie. They finally kill off Michael Myers, and that motherfucker is dead. He got ground up into ground chuck. There was nothing left of that guy. So if they bring him back in any way possible, I don't know how, because he got grounded up, which I appreciated. I like that. And my final half star for this movie was that kid falling over that railing and smacking down on the ground in the beginning of this movie. I remember sitting down to watch this, and the beginning of this movie is actually pretty good. I will say that. The beginning sequence with Corey and that Jeremy kid, pretty decent sequence. And as soon as I saw how tall that staircase went up, I was like, that fucking kid better go over that railing. And sure enough, that put the biggest smile on my face, because that kid was a piece of shit. And I mean, it was a pretty funny death. My apologies if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, but I thought it was kind of funny. And that, besides that, then focusing all your attention on the Corey character was a very stupid idea, especially for your third and final movie in your trilogy. If they would have built this up in Halloween 2018, or maybe even a little bit in Kills, I could see this actually paying off pretty well. But introducing this character in the third movie in your trilogy, where everyone is pretty much just wants Laurie versus Michael Myers. He killed her daughter at the end of Kills, and she seems happier in this movie that her daughter is dead. She barely even thinks about it at all. So I thought that was a very stupid idea, just kind of focusing on the Corey character instead of Laurie versus Michael. You do get that in the final couple minutes, but by then I just did not give a fuck about this movie. And so, although there were 3 things I did like about this movie, overall it was a mess and a half. I didn't really think the kills were all that great. There was one decent one involving the DJ at the radio station. I think that death was pretty good. But overall I thought the kills were kind of mediocre and not very graphic or anything, which is kind of surprising, especially since Kills had pretty awesome deaths throughout that movie. So I'm glad this franchise is done with. I hope they take a break for quite a while now. Apparently David Gordon Green is doing an Exorcist movie. Not looking forward to that really. It'll be interesting, but maybe not really looking forward to it. So Halloween Ends, probably my most disappointing movie of the year. Coming in at number 39, another disappointing movie, is Thor: Love and Thunder. I hated this movie so fucking much. I didn't even buy this movie. Usually I buy most of the MCU movies. I didn't buy this one because I hated it so much. It actually might be my least favorite MCU movie to date. I would have to look at my list. It's definitely towards the bottom though. I hated this movie. I saw it on Disney Plus. I didn't even go see this in theaters. I'm glad I waited to watch it on Disney Plus. I actually watched it with my wife, and not even halfway through the movie, she got bored with it, and she's like, I'm going to go to bed. And I was so jealous of her that she was able to go to bed. But I stuck through it. I watched this movie all the way through. Oh my God, this is one of the shorter MCU movies recently, and it felt like forever. This is a full-blown comedy. Now, I actually really liked Thor Ragnarok. Same guy, Taika Waititi, directed that one. Came back to direct Love and Thunder. And I like Ragnarok. It had good action, good humor, some decent emotion in it, and visually it was beautiful. And I was excited for him to come back for Love and Thunder because I liked Ragnarok so much. And he pretty much just took the comedy from Ragnarok and cranked it up to 11. Love and Thunder is a full blown comedy. It is maybe the first full comedy in the MCU that I can think of. The rest of the movies have like a good balance of action and humor and stuff. This is, I would be surprised if there is not 30 seconds that goes by in Love and Thunder where they don't try for a joke. And a lot of the jokes do not land. It is basement level humor. It is jokes that aren't really that funny, that smart. There's a couple of times where I chuckled, but a lot of these jokes just did not work for me. This is pretty much a cartoon come to life. And I did not enjoy it at all. I will say, one thing that was good about this movie is Christian Bale as the villain. I thought Gore the God Butcher, he looked intimidating, but they didn't do shit with this character. He's called the God Butcher, and from the trailers I was like, fuck, this guy looks menacing. He looks awesome. He's called the God Butcher. He kills one god in the beginning, I think it's right before the title card. And the rest of the movie, what does he do? He kidnaps children and fucking tries to scare them? Stupid. Fucking, you're the God Butcher, and he kills one god. Also, oh boy, this is so weird that this is in this movie. I think it's in the comics. The whole Jane Foster having cancer subplot does not fit well into this movie. You cannot have a movie that tries for so many jokes and also has a subplot where one of the main characters is going through chemotherapy, has cancer, is progressively dying throughout the movie. And it's kind of weird because she gets Thor's powers in the movie. And you would think like, oh, like that's what's going to save her from the cancer, is like her having like these godlike abilities. But no, that's what, like, the more she uses her powers, the faster she's dying? That makes no fucking sense. Like, you'd think if you get godlike powers, you're just like become invincible pretty much. But no, like the cancer is getting stronger after she uses the powers. I was very confused by that. I did not like this movie at all, as you can tell. I'm pretty much done with the MCU. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania looks decent, but other than that, I am done with this franchise. I'm sorry. Coming in at number 38 is going to be the new Hellraiser movie that's on Hulu. I was actually really looking forward to this movie. I have not seen any of the Hellraiser movies yet. I own two of them, the first two, the original and then the sequel, and the second one. And I haven't checked them out yet, but I was excited for this because 2022 was actually a fantastic year for horror movies. And I like it when they reboot from horror franchises from like the 80s, 70s, and 80s. Like, I wish we got a new Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I liked the Friday the 13th reboot from 2009. So I like it when they, keep rebooting these and do actually decent with them. The thing with the Hellraiser movie from this year this movie was slow. It was kind of a drag to get through. I will say that some of the practical effects, as far as the makeup work on the Cenobites and some of the gore, was pretty good. But Hellraiser is one of those franchises where it's like all blood and gore and like dismemberments and shit like that, and like body horror. I didn't think this movie was overly graphic as far as that goes. It's kind of weird. I thought it was pretty tame, actually. There's one scene involving a guy's hand, forearm, that I thought was pretty effective. Other than that, I thought the gore in this movie was pretty tame. The characters in this movie were not good. Not good. The story, was there a story? I don't think so. When I come to a Hellraiser movie, I expect good kills and hopefully for it to be pretty short and not that hard to get through. This movie felt very long, and like I said, the kills weren't all that great, and they're too few and far between as well. I You go probably about 20-30 minutes in between kills, which I did not appreciate at all. So if they make a sequel, I hope they do, because I think a sequel could maybe improve on this one. But yeah, this one was very disappointing for me. So coming in at number 38 is the new Hellraiser. Coming in at number 37 is going to be Terrifier 2. Now, I have not seen the original Terrifier movie from a couple years ago. I've watched clips and stuff from it. I pretty much have seen like all the kills and stuff and know how the story plays out. I just actually haven't sat down to watch the movie. I've heard mixed things about that, but Terrifier 2 I actually heard really good things about, so I was excited to check it out. I will say, as far as pretty much being a movie that had a very low budget, it was pretty much the money came from the fans. Like the fans helped make this movie. As far as that goes, I give this movie a lot of credit. I give the director a lot of credit and the cast and crew. They props to them for making this movie happen, and it actually made a lot of money for being such a small budget, which that's awesome. That's cool that a horror movie can do that nowadays. This just isn't the kind of movie for me. First of all, it's way too long. It's like 140 minutes long. I think that's actually maybe the longest slasher movie in history, in horror movie history, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I I don't know. This just, like I said, this just isn't the movie for me. It's a lot of brutal kills. The practical effects were pretty decent. I'll give them that. But it's just being kind of disgusting for disgusting's sake. There's no real like plot or story here, I don't think. I thought the leading actress was pretty decent. Actually, she was a good final girl. Her relationship with her brother was kind of not great, and the rest of the characters were pretty awful as well. So like I said, if this movie would have been pretty short, like if this movie would have been 90 minutes long and been as brutal as it was, I actually might have been able to get more involved with it. But like I said, at 140 minutes and just having a lot of brutal kills for and being like nasty and disgusting for being nasty and disgusting's sake for no real reason, I didn't really appreciate this movie. I shouldn't say appreciate. I didn't really enjoy this movie. I appreciate it that they were able to make it. It actually seems like a fun movie that like to make. Like it seems like the cast and crew had a lot of fun making it. Pretty much out of any movie this year, it actually would be one of the few movies that I would like to be on the set of and like see how they did stuff. But like I said, if you enjoyed this movie, I know a lot of people did. That's awesome. It's just personally not for me. I need a little bit more from my horror movies. Coming in at number 36 is going to be Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. This is the new movie from, I think this was A24. And I heard mixed things about this movie, and I checked it out here at home. I actually wasn't originally planning on seeing it, but I tried to see as many new releases from this year as I could. And this one, it was available to stream, so I rented it. It was a decent enough time. I had the twist spoiled for me, so I knew how it was going to play out by the end, which kind of sucked because the twist actually was kind of clever, I would say. My big thing with this movie is I hated all the characters except one. The character played by Lee Pace, who looked like he was having a complete blast in this movie. He was a lot of fun, but spoilers, he's killed off way too early in this movie. Other than that, all the teenage girls and the guys like Pete Davidson and all those characters, I was just like, you could all die right now. I don't give a shit. I also thought that this movie is trying to be a horror movie and a comedy, and I didn't think it was scary or funny at all. Yeah, I think they didn't get either tones right at all. So yeah, just a kind of a it's a fine first watch if you want to check it out. I would maybe recommend it, especially if you don't know what the twist is. Maybe check it out. But as far as me, I'm never gonna check this movie out again. Coming in at number 35 is going to be The Lost City. This is the new rom-com adventure movie with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. And I watched this at home with my wife. We streamed it, I think, on like Amazon or whatever. Um, We were both kind of let down by this movie. Like I said before in this video, my wife and I, our movie tastes don't really mesh too well. She likes more of like the rom-coms and stuff, and I'm like more of the action, horror, and stuff like that. And this kind of seemed like an actual movie that we'd be able to watch together, and neither of us really got into it. We didn't really think it was super funny. Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock are two actors who I think are hilarious. There are some chuckle moments in here, but overall, we neither of us laughed too often, and she was pretty much bored with the movie as well. There's some decent sequences, like I said, and an amazing Brad Pitt performance in this movie. He is a lot of fun in this. That Brad Pitt elevates this movie by a whole star just by his performance and his role in this movie. I thought he was a lot of fun. But I don't know, when I get a fun rom com movie, adventure movie with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, I kind of just want a little bit more with comedy and the romance, and I didn't really get that here. And Daniel Radcliffe as the villain, he was fine. He was fine. But overall, yeah, just a movie. Coming in at number 34 is going to be Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. This was one of the few MCU movies from this or last year that I was actually really looking forward to because of one thing: Sam Raimi as the director. I love wow. I love Sam Raimi as a director. I love all the Evil Dead movies. His Spider-Man trilogy. The first two, at least, are two of my favorite superhero movies of all time. Number three, I can have some decent fun with. But him as a director is just, he's got his own style, and I love his style. And I thought it would work very well in this Doctor Strange movie. From the trailers, it looked more like a horror movie, which I was very intrigued by. And I was kind of let down by this movie. I'm not a big fan of the first Doctor Strange movie. I think it's one of my lesser favorite MCU movies. I think this one is definitely better just because Sam Raimi as a director. And probably my favorite thing about this movie is Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch. I thought she was incredible in this movie. She gives an awesome performance. She's one of the few MCU characters who I'm still invested in, and I'll watch anything that she does because I think Elizabeth Olsen is an awesome actress, and she's great in this movie. And turning her into the villain, I thought was a great idea. But as far as being a multiverse of madness, I didn't really think they did too much as far as the madness or the multiverse. They did the one thing, which, spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, but I think a lot of people know by now, is they brought in John Krasinski as Reed Richards, and they brought back Patrick Stewart as Professor X. And they had some of that in the marketing and stuff. And I was excited for that, but they kind of just don't really do a whole lot with it. They kind of play it for a joke, which I didn't really think was all that great. Um, but I will say this movie does progressively get better. I think the first like half hour of this movie was 20 minutes, half hour of this movie was not good at all. I thought the visual effects especially were pretty bad. Maybe it's just because I streamed that on Disney Plus. But I thought the visual effects in the first like 20, 30 minutes of this movie were very bad. But I will say the movie does progressively get better, especially once, like I said, Scarlet Witch is introduced. She's the most interesting character in this movie, and she definitely held my attention throughout the entire thing. Doctor Strange is a character I just don't really give a shit about. I think he was fine in the Infinity War and Endgame. I think he's good in those movies, but like I said, in his first movie, and then in No Way Home, and in this, I don't really give a shit about Doctor Strange as a character. So it's maybe in the middle of my MCU ranking. Like I said, it was kind of a letdown, but Scarlet Witch, Elizabeth Olsen is definitely the highlight of that movie. Coming in at number 33 is going to be Smile. This is a movie that had a lot of positive reviews. A lot of people had low expectations and came out really liking this movie. So I was excited for it because it's a horror movie that's getting good reviews. And so I streamed it here at home, and I was not really into this movie at all. I don't know if I watched the same movie as everyone else did. Maybe I had to watch it in theaters, but I was kind of let down by this movie. I didn't think it was that scary. I thought it was actually really, really slow and kind of boring. Like the whole premise of the movie, it's like it feels like it's gonna build up and you're gonna get some answers at the end, and the ending doesn't really give you any answers. And it's not that it's ambiguous, it's just that it just doesn't have anything. Like there's no answers to what's going on with this lady at all. I will say as a positive, I thought the performances were all great, especially the lead actress who is Kevin Bacon's daughter actually. I thought she was awesome, and there are some moments in here that are like creepy, especially one involving I think it's her nephew's birthday party. That scene was pretty pretty fucked up. But other than that, besides that one scene and the ending, there's a monster at the end of this movie. I thought the practical effects and the visuals of that were very good, but I was kind of let down by this movie. I wish I would see the same movie that everyone else is praising, but yeah, definitely one of my lesser favorite horror movies of the year. Coming in at number 32 is going to be the movie Fall. So this is the same guy who directed 47 Meters Down a couple years ago, the shark movie about the two sisters being stuck in a cage in the ocean or whatever. And you can definitely tell it's the same director because it's pretty much that premise, but it's two girls stuck at the top of a radio tower in the middle of the desert. And I saw the previews for this movie and I was intrigued but very nervous because I hate heights. Heights and snakes are my two biggest fears in the world. And so watching the previews for this movie, I was getting anxiety and I'm like, I don't know if I can handle this. But I fucking nutted up. I sat down here at home and I watched it. I had a decent amount or a decent enough time with this movie. You can definitely tell it's the same director. There's a twist in 47 Meters Down, and he pretty much does the same twist in Fall. And I feel like the filmmaker, the director, thought it was a lot smarter than it actually was. It's kind of a not great twist at all. You can kind of see it coming. But I will give them credit because this, like I said, as someone who hates heights, this movie gave me anxiety. I hated like watching this movie just because of that. They really make you feel like these girls are stuck at the top of this, I don't know, couple 1,000 foot tall tower, and just like the sense of looking over the edge and like feeling that vertigo in your stomach. Like I hated that feeling, but it was enjoyable enough. Like I said, if you want to like a fine little thriller, check it out. It will give you that anxiety and fear of falling, but overall, I thought the characters are pretty dumb, especially I think her name is Hunter. She's the blonde girl in the movie. One of the worst best friends I've ever seen in a movie. She is a terrible friend in this movie. If you watch it, watch how she is as a friend. She is awful to her friend. So, or she's awful to the main character. So, the characters were stupid, but I think the premise and some of the thrills and stuff you get from it were enjoyable enough. Coming in at number 31 is going to be The Cursed. This was originally titled Eight for Silver, which is a far better title than The Cursed. The Cursed is one of the most generic titles I've ever heard. But anyways, this is a werewolf movie that has a unique spin on the werewolf lore. They do some interesting stuff with it. I remember seeing trailers for this in theaters. I think this came out at the beginning of 2022. And so I remember seeing previews for this and I was very intrigued. I thought the previews were actually very good. The trailers were very good. Um, it had a creepy atmosphere to it. And that's one of the best things about this movie is the atmosphere and like the uh, time that they set the movie in. I don't know what year this movie is set in, but and it's also got a really good cast as well. And I'm excited to see what this director does in the future because you can definitely tell he's got a lot of talent behind the lens. There's this one, like just a one steady shot. It's just like the camera is placed in one spot and it's all this action taking place from a distance. I thought that shot was really well done. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's kind of a spoiler, so I don't want to give anything away. But I thought this was a pretty good werewolf movie. I thought the werewolves didn't really look that great though. The CGI especially was kind of iffy, but it's a good enough time. I thought Boyd Holbrook as well in the movie was awesome. I love Boyd Holbrook as an actor. I think he's really underrated. So, The Cursed, pretty decent horror movie from last year. Coming in at number 30 is going to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I actually enjoyed the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie more than I thought I would. I actually didn't watch it until like a couple days before watching this. And it was a fun enough time, like, especially if I was a kid, like, if I would have been like 11 years old watching the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie and this one, I would love them. But being an adult, I don't really have that big of a relationship with Sonic the Hedgehog. But I thought these movies were fun enough times. I definitely think the second one here is better than the first one, specifically because they have the character of Knuckles. I thought Idris Elba as Knuckles was a lot of fun. Very good humor. He kind of plays as kind of plays as Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he takes everything so seriously, and they do a lot of good humor with that. Sonic as a character, he's fine. I hate all of the meta references and the pop culture references that he does. It's like, oh great, the Winter Soldier. It's like, God, I just hate that kind of humor. But Jim Carrey as well in this movie is so much fun. I actually think he was maybe better in the first one, but he's a lot of fun in this one too. And I thought the final action sequence involving him with his big robot was a lot of fun. So yeah, just a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. It's fun. I think they're making a third one and bringing Shadow in, but I just hope they bring back Knuckles because he is definitely my favorite part of this movie. So fun enough time if you want to check it out. Going right along with the video game movies, coming in at number 29 is Uncharted. I am a massive fan of the Uncharted video games. They are definitely in my top 10 favorite video games of all time. I love that franchise. I love the characters in there. And when I heard that they were making an Uncharted movie, I was interested, but I had very low expectations. And when I heard they cast Tom Holland as Nathan Drake and Mark Wahlberg as Victor Sullivan, my expectations went really low. And I will say, after watching the movie, as far as an adaptation of the video games, it's not good. It is not good. They don't get the characters down at all. The adventure is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as grand and as fun as it does in the video games. And the writing is not nowhere near as good as it is in the video games. As a dumb, fun adventure movie with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, I had fun with it. I saw this in theaters with my wife. It's one of two movies from this year I saw in theaters with my wife. I was able to drag her to it. And it was fine. It's a stupid movie. It's got some dumb humor. It's got some fun sequences and stuff. But like I said, as an Uncharted adaptation, it's not good. Tom Holland is just playing Tom Holland. And Mark Wahlberg is so wrongly cast as Victor Sullivan. There is nothing about this character that screams Victor Sullivan. But like I said, as an Uncharted, or not, as a fun, dumb adventure movie, it's fine. It's one that maybe I could rewatch eventually, but especially after The Last of Us premiered on HBO and how amazing that adaptation is, video game adaptations got to kind of step it up, especially when you're adapting Uncharted, one of the best video game franchises of all time. Coming in at number 28 is going to be The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, otherwise known as Nicolas Cage, the movie. I had quite a bit of fun with this movie. I am a massive fan of Nicolas Cage. He is one of the few actors who can give the most over-the-top performance, and he's not doing it wrong at all. No matter how shitty the movie is, usually Nicolas Cage is almost always the best part. And as far as 90s Nicolas Cage goes, I mean, he has made some of my favorite movies from the 90s, The Rock, Con Air, Face Off. All those movies are a lot I love. And so having a movie where Nicolas Cage is playing Nicolas Cage, the actor, is just a genius concept. And like having him be so over the top, I love that concept. And I will say the movie does pretty good job with it, especially with him and Pedro Pascal. They have amazing chemistry together. I love their friendship in this movie. And if the movie was just their friendship and them hanging out, this movie would be so much higher. But there's a subplot involving a kidnapping and stuff like that, and Pedro Pascal's cousin or some shit involved in the kidnapping, and the CIA. All of that subplot could have been just fucking tossed out the garbage. And like the Tiffany Haddish character, I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of Tiffany Haddish as an actress. I just don't find her funny. And her and Ike Barinholtz, I think, are the two characters from the CIA. That whole subplot they could have gotten rid of. If this movie would have just focused on Nick Cage, Pedro Pascal, I would have loved this movie. But overall, it's a fun enough time. A lot of funny laughs and stuff involving Nick Cage and him and Pedro Pascal, but decent enough. Coming in at number 27 is going to be Orphan First Kill. This is the sequel from the first movie that came out, I think, in like 2009. And usually when a movie gets a sequel over a decade later, there is very little hope for it. Especially the Orphan movie, which did actually this is a prequel, I guess. So, but did we really need this? Like, who was clamoring for this? Who was asking for it? This movie was actually a lot of fun. I have not seen the original Orphan movie, but I've seen pretty much clips. I've seen a lot of clips from it, so I know the premise and the setup and everything. I know the twist. And I had very low expectations from this for the prequel now. And after I heard that a lot of people were actually really enjoying it, I wanted to check it out. And this movie is bonkers fun. When you first watch this movie, if you watch like the first like 40 minutes maybe, you're kind of like, okay, like this kind of just seems like a generic movie. Like, why do we need this? You know, this kind of stupid. There is a point about halfway through the movie where it takes a twist. I had a lot of fun after that twist. After that twist happened, this movie goes bonkers. And it's just stupid fun. You know, this is not a great movie, but it is dumb fun, like I said. I actually think the actress, Isabel Furman, I think she was the one that plays the orphan. Can't remember what her name is. Esther. That's the orphan's name. She's a lot of fun in this movie. And I thought Julia Stiles actually was so fun in this movie. She was great. Yeah, just a stupid, fun, dumb horror movie that was so much better than it had any right to be. So, Orphan First Kill coming in at number 27. Coming in at number 26 is another movie that is just a lot of dumb fun, and that is Bullet Train. This is directed by David Leitch, the guy who directed, I think, directed Deadpool 2 and like co-directed the first John Wick movie. So the guy knows how to do action, and you also get a great cast with Brad Pitt, Brian Tyree Henry, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and this movie is just dumb fun. Like I said, the thing I dislike the most about this movie is the humor. I think there's a lot of humor in this movie that just does not work for me. It tries too hard to be funny, and a lot of it just doesn't land. But the action sequences are fun. There's actually some decent mystery and like suspense in this movie as to like how it's all gonna play out. And the action is pretty well shot. And I don't know, it was just stupid, dumb fun. If you want a fun action movie, I think I watched this at like 11 o'clock at night, and that was like perfect. So Bullet Train, I didn't have high expectations, and it was just fine. Coming in at number 25 is going to be Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This was the other movie I was actually able to get my wife to go see with me in theaters. She loves the first Black Panther movie. That's probably her favorite MCU movie, if I have to guess. I like the first Black Panther movie a lot. It's probably like maybe in the top 10 of my MCU movies, somewhere hanging around in that 10 spot. But I was very interested in seeing this movie. I thought the trailers were actually very good. And everything involved in this movie, as far as like Chadwick Boseman passing away, that is one of the worst hands they could have been dealt with this movie. Probably the worst hand as far as the filmmaking aspect and everything like that. Not only did the cast and crew lose their lead actor, but they also lost a friend, family member, a loved one. And so to be able to, not to be able to, to have to go out and make this movie without their friend, their loved one, I give all the props to them, all credit to them for even getting this movie made, because I don't know how they did it as far as that goes. All credit to them. And I will say, as far as the movie goes, they did an amazing job paying tribute to Chadwick Boseman and his passing. Excuse me. And the T'Challa character. And you can tell in the movie that the actors are kind of grieving and like going through the tragedy of losing their friend through the movie and their performances. And the performances are all fantastic in this movie, especially Angela Bassett. I think she got Oscar. Yeah, she got Oscar nominated. So that's awesome. Like I said, all the performances in this movie are outstanding. The way they pay tribute to T'Challa, Black Panther, fantastic. But there are a lot of things in this movie that I did not enjoy, especially the runtime. This movie is almost 3 hours long, and it does not need to be. There is a character, turns out to be Ironheart. It's pretty much like an Iron Man Jr., I guess. I thought that character could have been scrapped completely. Martin Freeman and Julie Louis-Dreyfus, those characters could have been scrapped completely out of this movie. If this film would have just been Wakanda and then Namor and his underground or underwater city and they're clashing, I thought this movie could have been absolutely incredible. My one big thing about this movie, though, as far as the Namor character, I liked Namor as a villain. I thought he was pretty compelling. I thought his underwater city was kind of shitty. Like, it looked not great. It, like, when you go watch Aquaman and you see what James Wan does as a director, and especially once you get underwater and you see how bright and vibrant and colorful the underwater city of Atlantis, I think that is, it's like beautiful. In this city, in Black Panther, in Wakanda Forever, Namor's city, it just looks dark and drab and like shitty and not a cool place to hang out. So overall, I enjoyed this movie. I think it actually is my favorite MCU movie of the year. Yes, my favorite MCU movie of the year. So Wakanda Forever, I had decent enough time with. I don't know if I'd rewatch it anytime soon, but like I said, as far as carrying on the Black Panther storyline without Chadwick Boseman, I thought they did a pretty decent job with it. Coming in at number 24 is Deep Water. A lot of people probably don't remember this movie. Deep Water is the new Adrian Lyne movie. The person who directed Fatal Attraction, Unfaithful, all of these like Girlfriend from Hell and like these scandalous relationship movies. This is the new one starring Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. I think it premiered on Hulu. This movie had a hell of a production trying to get out. Like originally it was supposed to be in theaters, and then I think when Disney bought Fox, they weren't going to release this movie because it was rated R and all the we can't have sex in movies anymore. And then they dumped it to Hulu, which I appreciated, actually just being able to see this movie because I love Ben Affleck as an actor. I love Ana de Armas as an actress. And this movie, while being not great, was so dumb and just cheesy and corny. I had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, I love Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas. They're a lot of fun in this movie. And it was just fun to have like kind of like more raunchy adult thriller. Like I said, not a great movie, but I enjoyed it a lot. And the ending was pretty disappointing, but I don't know. There's just something about this movie where I was like, finally, like a movie that feels like it was made, like if this movie would have came out in the 90s or the early 2000s, it fit right in. But I don't know, like I just enjoyed being able to watch an adult thriller like this. So Deep Water, like I said, not a great movie, but I kind of wish we got more movies made like this. It kind of just felt nice and refreshing. Coming in at number 23 is the new Michael Bay movie, Ambulance. I was actually really excited for this movie. I like Michael Bay as a director as far as like action sequences go. The Rock is one of my favorite action movies of all time, and I was just happy to see him not being stuck in the Transformers franchise again, and for him to go back to just like a grounded, fun action movie, more realistic, I would say, action movie. And I pretty much got exactly that with Ambulance. It has a great cast with Jake Gyllenhaal giving an all-time weird-ass performance. He is off the chain in this movie. A lot of fun. You got Yahya Abdul-Mateen the second. Sorry, the guy who was in the new Candyman movie. I thought those two had really good chemistry together as far as like being stepbrothers or whatever they were, adopted brothers. I thought they had really good chemistry together, and the action in this movie was just a lot of fun. Maybe a little bit too long, maybe too many drone shots, but I don't know. Just a fun, dumb Michael Bay action movie. I had a good time with it. All right, we're halfway done with the list. Coming in at number 22 is Scream. Scream 5. This is a two-pack, comes with the original and the new one, but talking about the new one, obviously. Scream 5, I am a big fan of the Scream franchise. I love the first one. The fourth one might be my second favorite in the franchise. And so I was excited that we were getting another one, new addition to the franchise. But I was also nervous because it's the first one without Wes Craven. But I was also excited because I think the same people who directed this one directed Ready or Not from 2019. I love that movie. So I was very excited for this. And it was just a lot of fun to be able to check this movie out in theaters. I had a good time with it. Some decent kills. I always have a lot of fun with the Scream movies and trying to like figure out who the Ghostface killer is or killers. This one I was kind of able to know who or figure out who the killers were, so that kind of mystery was not too great. But I thought overall the kills were really good. I thought it was really well directed, and finally, spoilers, they killed off one of the three main characters from the franchise. So that was kind of cool that the movie had some balls to do that. And we're also getting a sixth one in a couple months, and the trailer drop for that. I'm very excited to check that out too. So the Scream franchise overall, very good horror franchise, and this one just helped add to that. Coming in at number 21 is going to be The Woman King. I heard really good things about this movie, and I was excited to check it out. I pretty much heard that it was like Gladiator, but with Viola Davis in the lead role, and that it was taking place in Africa and involving the slave trade. Excuse me. And I was really excited about this because I heard it was kind of like just a big, epic sword and sandals war movie. And I had a lot of fun with this movie. I thought it was very well made. Performances across the board were fantastic. Viola Davis, obviously, she's always going to be great. Lashana Lynch might have been the best part of the movie. I thought she was fantastic in this. And the main character or the newcomer actress, her name is Thuso Bedu. I am so sorry if I messed that up. I probably did, but she plays one of the main characters in this movie. I think she was like her first starring role or whatever. I thought she was awesome as well. And I thought all the action sequences were pretty well shot. A lot more violent for being a PG-13 movie than I thought it would be. My main critique of this movie is I kind of wish it would have been rated R and that they could have went all out with the battle sequences and stuff. But for being PG-13, I thought they did a great job. I thought the story was intriguing. Some of the performances, as far as like the slave traders, I thought were not great. Maybe they weren't supposed to be great, and there was spoilers. There was a major character that died towards the end of the movie. I kind of felt like that death was kind of just like meant nothing. If they would have died, it takes place right before the final battle, like the scene before the final battle. And it just kind of felt like maybe that character should have just died in the final battle and it would have had a lot more emotion. Whereas how they actually died just kind of felt like it didn't really add up to a whole lot. Other than that, I really like this movie and I wish it would have made a lot more money because I wish we got more movies like this. So The Woman King, definitely check it out. It's a good movie. Coming in at number 20 is actually the most recent movie that I watched on this list. I just watched it not too long ago, and that is Decision to Leave. This is the new movie directed by Park Chan-wook. I believe that I said his name right. Same guy who directed Old Boy back in, 2003. This is his new movie. It's a South Korean, murder mystery movie uh, police procedural, but it's also got a romance in it as well. And I was very excited to check this out because I heard a lot of great things about it. It was getting amazing reviews. I like this movie, but I kind of feel like I just didn't get involved in the story too well. I will say that as far as direction goes and performances, and especially the cinematography, there are some shots in this movie that I'm like, I don't know how they did that. I thought, as far as like picking the shot, sorry, the framing of some shots and the camera movement and stuff, I was like, this is awesome. Like, and the fact that this didn't get nominated for cinematography, it's kind of mind blowing. But anyways, it didn't get nominated for anything, so that kind of sucks. But I just kind of wish I got a little bit more involved in this movie. There were some story plot points. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, like I don't know if this movie needs to be 140 minutes long, but I appreciated this movie. Definitely check it out if you're interested in this kind of movie, like, and especially if you are interested in Park Chan-wook as a director. Like I said, directing, performances, and especially cinematography, outstanding. I just wish I would have got a little bit more invested in the story. But overall, very good movie. Coming in at number 19 is going to be Pearl. I love this cover, by the way. I think this is the Walmart exclusive cover. Really like that. So Pearl is the second movie in the Ty West X franchise, I guess you want to call it. And this is a prequel to X, which X came out the same year as this. And I haven't talked about X, so you might see it a little bit higher on this list. But so Pearl is the origin story of the villain character from X, Pearl. And still played by Mia Goth, which I will just give all credit right up front to Mia Goth for this performance. She is incredible in this movie. There's a 5-minute long monologue scene in this movie where it's just a steady shot of her and it does not cut or anything. It is a 5-minute monologue of her talking and it is fantastic. And the Academy Awards was like, nah, we won't recognize that performance. She was fine, but we just won't recognize her, which fuck it, they don't give a shit about horror movies, but Mia Goth gives one of the best performances of the year in this movie. As far as an origin story, I thought it was pretty good. I thought a lot of the story beats were just kind of like, okay, like I could have seen that coming. I kind of wish there was a little bit more. My expectations weren't so met in this movie, which I guess I'll say. But overall, very good horror movie. Mia Goth and Ty West, I love what they're doing with this trilogy. And it is going to be a trilogy. We got X, Pearl, and then I think this year we are getting Maxine, which will be a conclusion to this trilogy, which I'm excited for. But Pearl, very good origin story and very well directed. Coming in at number 18 is the new movie by Martin McDonagh, and that is The Banshees of Inisherin. I love Martin McDonagh as a director. I love In Bruges. I loved 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I like Seven Psychopaths. I got to watch that one again. It's been a while. So I was very excited to check out Banshees. And this might be my least favorite of the 4 that I've seen. Like I said, I have to rewatch Seven Psychopaths. But for how much praise this was getting, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. I will just say right up front, everything I've said with a lot of these movies, and like this movie's getting a lot of Oscar nominations as well. Performances across the board are fantastic, especially Carrie Condon, I think that's her name, who plays the sister in this movie. She is probably my pick for Best Supporting Actress. I thought she was incredible in this movie. And Barry Keoghan, I think that's how you say his name, the guy who's going to be playing the new Joker. I thought he was amazing in this movie as well. And Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are also always incredible. And if Colin Farrell wins an Oscar for this movie, I will be very happy for him. It's about time he gets some recognition. He's an awesome actor. He's been around forever, so it's very, very awesome that he's getting the recognition he deserves. I think direction-wise, this movie is incredible, and cinematography and the score for this movie is one of my favorites of the year. I loved it. But the story and just where it goes, overall, I just kind of wanted a little bit more from this movie. It's very funny. It's got a lot of dramatic moments as well. But I don't know, just from the story and like it's about a guy these two guys who used to be best friends, and just one day out of nowhere, one of them decides he doesn't want to be friends with the other one. And where they go with that, I was like, oh, like that's a lot of intrigue. Like, why doesn't he want to be friends with him anymore? And I just kind of wanted a little bit more from it. But I know a lot of people love it. Obviously, maybe I just didn't get it. But overall, very well made movie. Just maybe not for me. Coming in at number 17, I might get a lot of shit for this because this seems to be everyone's favorite movie of the year. And that is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm sorry, guys. I will say I really liked this movie. I really did. It's number 17, so it might not seem like I liked it a lot. I just didn't love it. First of all, let me get everything out of the way that I loved about this movie. Performances across the board. Fantastic. Michelle Yeoh, Ki Hui Kwan, sorry, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Stephanie. Is her last name Shu? Or Sue. I'm sorry if I got her name wrong. Who plays the daughter in this movie? All those performances are incredible. I am so happy that all the performances are getting a lot of attention, especially Ki Hui Kwan, who played Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom back in 1984, and he is finally coming back into movies, and it's awesome that he's getting a lot of recognition. He probably will win an Oscar for this movie. That is so cool. I really hope Michelle Yeoh as well wins an Oscar because that's just awesome that this movie is as batshit insane as this movie is, that it's getting a lot of love and praise from the Academy Awards. That's just awesome. This movie is unlike anything I have ever seen. I will say that. That is a positive, that this movie is so weird and so batshit insane that I can't compare it to any movie. So that's really awesome. Where this movie just doesn't work for me is I think that it is too batshit insane for too long. This movie is 139 minutes, so 140, almost 2.5 hours long. And there's just only so much batshit insane stuff in a movie that I can handle. And I think this movie just kind of gave me too much. If this movie was shorter, it would definitely be a lot higher on this list. But I will give all credit to the Daniels who direct this movie and the cast and crew and everyone involved for even getting this movie made. It had a very low budget, I think, and you cannot tell. But all props to this movie and the cast and crew. It's just not a movie that personally worked for me as it did for everyone else. And like I said, I really like this movie. There's just it was almost too much for me. So if you loved it, I am glad you loved it. Just didn't 100% work for me. Coming in at number 16 is going to be Glass Onion, the sequel to Knives Out, which came out in 2019. And I was really looking forward to this movie because I really like Knives Out. I got to rewatch it soon. I've only seen it once, but I really liked it. And any Rian Johnson movie I get excited for, especially if it's a Knives Out movie and we get Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, who might be one of my favorite characters in recent memory. I love this character. I love what Daniel Craig and Rian Johnson are doing with this character. And I'm so happy that we're going to be getting more of this character in the future. I really liked Glass Onion. I don't know if I liked it as much as Knives Out, but I will say that this is definitely one of the funniest movies of the year. I really like the mystery involved here with the cast of characters that they have. I think I like the cast of characters in Knives Out a little bit better, but performances across the board are fantastic. Daniel Craig is just great in this movie. Janelle Monáe, she is really good in this movie as well. And then, you get like Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, Edward Norton. They're a lot of fun as well. I just think the mystery in this movie wasn't as tight and as great and as intriguing as it was in Knives Out. And I think this movie might have gone on too long, but it's a beautiful looking movie. It's a lot of fun, very funny. There are a couple moments where I bursted out laughing that I was not expecting. So, like I said, I'm very excited to be getting more of these movies, and I hope we get 5 more Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig Benoit Blanc movies. Coming in at number 15 is going to be The Menu. This movie was a lot of fun. I was actually able to check this out in theaters. I was the only one in the theater which kind of sucked because I feel like this would have been a good movie to see with a big crowd, and get a lot of interaction with people and hear their laughs and stuff. But like I said, I was the only one in theaters, which was also kind of cool, a little creepy, being in theater by yourself. But this movie, I was very excited for because I heard a lot of great things, and you also got a great cast. You got Ralph Fiennes, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Nicholas Hoult, and then you also got like wow, I'm sorry, excuse me, John Leguizamo in this as well. And the cast across the board is a lot of fun in this movie. And the premise I was intrigued by because I remember seeing the trailer for this movie, and I kind of thought that it was maybe going to be like a cannibal movie, like where it's called The Menu, and these people get invited to this island put on by this at this restaurant put on by this world class chef. And I was like, oh, like this is gonna be like, okay, they like cut the like they eat the people that come there, like eat the rich is like the message of this movie, and it's not that. So if you want to see this movie, you think there's any like cannibalism or anything, it's not that. This is a very fun, pretty witty movie that, like I said, has great performances, has really good looking food. I will say the food in this movie, like I got hungry watching this movie. Especially there's a scene at the end involving a burger, and I was like, oh, I need a burger right now. And I think I went and got one after the theater, or after I left the theater. But anyways, this movie is just a lot of fun. Definitely check it out. I think it just got on HBO Max. Performances, like I said, across the board. Ralph Fiennes is so great in this movie. He's very menacing, and he just demands a lot of attention. And anytime he's on screen, your eyes are just like glued to him. And Anya Taylor-Joy is very good as always. Love her as an actress. Nicholas Hoult is such a douchebag in this movie, but he's a lot of fun as well. So The Menu, very funny movie, good fun time. Check it out on HBO Max. Coming in at number 14 is the new one from Jordan Peele, and that is Nope. I had moderate expectations for this movie. I really like Get Out. I was not a big fan of Us. And so a new one by Jordan Peele, I'm always intrigued what his premise is going to be. And I will say that Nope, while not being as good as Get Out, I do think it's better than Us. It might be one that I rewatch the most of his movies, though. Like I could see myself rewatching this. I had a lot of fun with this movie. I thought it was very well made. Performances, Daniel Kaluuya, and especially Keke Palmer, is fantastic. It's always great to see Michael Wincott in a movie. If anyone has seen any movie in the 90s, Michael Wincott might have been in it. He's the bad guy from The Crow. He's in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He's just a lot of fun. So it was nice to see him in this movie. I thought the premise was actually very good too. Like this UFO, like something's in the sky in the clouds. I thought it had a little like Steven Spielberg, like Jaws, but like instead of a shark in the water, it's a UFO in the sky. Very creepy. And there's a sequence in this movie involving a chimpanzee that is one of the creepiest scenes I've seen in a while. So check out Nope if you haven't seen it yet, especially if you like Jordan Peele as a director. Coming in at number 13 is all the douchebags on Twitter's least favorite movie of the year, and that is Prey. I had a fantastic time with Prey. Thank God we finally got a good Predator movie. I was very excited for this movie because you got, I think his name is Dan Trachtenberg, the guy who directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I really like that movie. So hearing that he's going to be directing a Predator movie, I was very excited about. And that they're changing the timeline up. This movie is set. When I first saw the poster for this movie, I thought it was actually like caveman era. It's actually not that far back. It's like I think it's Comanche Native Americans, which is awesome. That they like take this back in time a little bit and set it in not in a modern time. And I had such a fun time with this movie. It is definitely the second best Predator movie of the franchise. That's for damn sure. And it's just awesome that we finally got a good one. I thought this movie was very well made. Direction wise, I thought it was great. Performances, especially the main girl, she was great. And her character and her character arc, I thought was very well done. And the Predator in this movie was so fucking badass and menacing. First of all, I love the design and like how this is like I think they say this is the first predator that landed on Earth, and I love the design, like the skeleton helmet that he's got on, the skull. That is so cool. He looks so creepy, and a lot of great kills in this movie. Especially there's like the sequence involving these French fur traders and trappers. Loved it. So I hope we get another movie just like this in the Predator franchise. This movie is just a lot of fun. So definitely thumbs up. Check out Prey if you have not, especially if you love a good sci-fi action movie. Coming in at number 12 is going to be X. This is the first of the trilogy, the second one being Pearl, which I already talked about. So this is the first of the trilogy with Mia Goth and Ty West in this X trilogy. And I really like this movie. This is pretty much a straight up slasher that you would see from like the 70s, like a grindhouse slasher, but with so much care and heart put into it as well. Very well directed, a lot more emotional that I would say than your average slasher as well. Performances are all great, especially Mia Goth, who I did not know plays both the lead girl and also the villain in this movie. The villains being this old couple, and I actually thought their motivation and stuff was actually very heartbreaking. I will say, like, it's one of the few slasher movies where I'm like actually like upset and like sad for the villains. I mean, they're evil people with what they do, but I kind of felt bad for them. So some awesome kills, great practical effects, pretty good slasher movie. One of the best horror movies of the year, definitely. And like I said, I'm very excited for Maxine, the final movie in this trilogy. Coming in at number 11 is going to be Bones and All. This is the new movie from Luca Guadagnino, who directed Call Me By Your Name and the Suspiria remake from 2018. And this is actually the first movie of his that I've seen. I was very excited to check this out because like I saw the previews and I was very intrigued and I heard great things. So for those of you who do not know, Bones and All is pretty much a cannibal romance movie with these two people, one played by Timothy Chalamet and the girl played by Taylor Russell. They are both cannibals and they fall in love, and it's like a road trip movie and their experiences along the way. And I would love to know how many people went to see this movie and did not know that this movie was about cannibals, because there is a scene within the first 5 to 10 minutes involving a finger getting bitten off that right away lets you know this movie is about cannibals. And I really want to know how many people freaked out in the theaters when that scene happened. I would love to know that and like their reactions. I unfortunately had to see this at home. I really wanted to see this in theaters, but like I said, I gotta check it out at home. And I am actually very excited to rewatch this movie. I had a great time with this movie. I thought it was such a beautiful movie for it being about such a disgusting and disturbing subject matter. I thought this was such a well-made movie, so beautiful. The performances across the board are fantastic, especially Mark Rylance. He is so creepy in this movie, especially with his ponytail. And that character just oozed creepiness. And I like the mythology of like how being a cannibal in this world, it's kind of like being like a vampire or like a werewolf. Like it had its own mythology and stuff. Like I thought that was so cool. And it's not a movie that glorifies cannibalism. It actually treats it more like a disease in this movie. Like these people are like they don't want to be cannibals, but it's like a disease that they have, and like they just need to do it. And like I said, for such a disturbing subject matter, I thought this movie was beautiful. Performances, direction, the score. I was watching this movie and I was listening to the score. I'm like, the score is beautiful. Like, who did this? And I didn't look it up until the credits. And it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, the guys who did the score for The Social Network. And I was like, oh my God, this score is like probably my favorite of the year. And it didn't even get nominated for an Oscar, which was kind of weird because I don't know, I just thought it was an incredible score. But if you think you can handle cannibalism in a movie, definitely check this out. It's not as graphic as you would think it is. There are some sequences that are creepy and kind of gross, but overall, I thought this was a beautiful movie. And like I said, I can't wait to rewatch it, which is kind of weird. All right, we're finally into the top 10. And kicking off the top 10 is going to be The Black Phone. This is the new horror movie directed by Scott Derrickson, the guy who directed Sinister from, I don't know, 10 years ago or whatever. And I think this is written by the son of Stephen King, which you can definitely tell. I love this movie. This is one of the most emotional horror movies I've seen in a long time. Pretty much it's about this guy, the Grabber, that's his name, the character's name in the movie, the Grabber, who kidnaps kids, well, boys, young boys, and locks them up in his basement, and in a couple days will kill them, pretty much. And it's about this young boy that gets kidnapped, and he has to try to figure his way out and try to escape the Grabber. And this was one of my favorite horror movies of the year, obviously. I thought it was so well made, so well directed. I actually really like this more than Sinister. I like Sinister, but I love this movie. And I thought it was just refreshing to see a horror movie that had a lot of emotion behind it. I think the the relationship between the brother and the main character and the sister in this movie was so heartbreaking and like also heartwarming. Anything involving siblings is like, it just like gets me always. And I thought they had a great relationship. I thought the performances, Ethan Hawke as the Grabber is so creepy, and it's just awesome to see him playing a villain. I thought the main kid, I gotta figure his name out, Mason Thames. I thought he was excellent in the lead role, and Madeline McGraw, who plays the sister in this movie, gives one of the best child performances I've ever seen. I will say that straight up, honestly. The sister in this movie was probably my favorite character. She has a very tomboy attitude where she will beat the shit out of bullies and stuff, but she also breaks down at home and she isn't afraid to let her emotional side out. I thought her performance was excellent. It's one of the few horror movies that I would actually recommend to almost anyone. It's got a lot of emotion, but it's also super intense, super scary, and it's got a lot of great payoff and at the end. So The Black Phone, definitely check it out if you have not. Great horror movie. Coming in at number 9 is going to be Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. What? There's a Pinocchio movie in my top 10 of the year? I would never have guessed that. But if anyone could make a damn good Pinocchio movie, it is Guillermo del Toro. This movie was beautiful. Holy shit. This is a stop motion animation Pinocchio movie released to Netflix later this year, or last year, sorry. I love this movie. I thought this was such a beautifully well-made movie as far as the direction. This is unlike any other Pinocchio movie we've ever seen, and we've seen how many versions of Pinocchio. We got 3 versions of Pinocchio just this year. Yeah, 3 different Pinocchio movies. We got this one, which is the only one I've seen. We got the shitty Disney live-action remake with Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks, and I've heard that movie is just awful, and I had no interest in watching it. And then we got a fucking Pinocchio movie voiced by Pauly Shore, which I want to see that movie. I really do want to see that movie because it looked, oh my god. Pinocchio voiced by Pauly Shore. I will be checking that movie out. Okay? But anyways, getting back to Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, like I said, this movie is so beautiful. The animation, the stop motion, oh my god, it's glorious. I love stop motion because you can just tell that it takes so much time and effort and care and heart to make these movies, these kind of movies, and it's just gorgeous. Gorgeous animation. I thought the voice performances across the board were fantastic. Ewan McGregor was so great. Had a lot of funny moments. There was one moment in this scene or in this movie involving Ewan McGregor, who pretty much plays the Jiminy Cricket role. There was one moment had me gut busting laughing. I fucking like had tears in my eyes from laughter. It was so funny. And I thought the kid who played Pinocchio, which I'm going to get his name down because he deserves it. So his name is Gregory Mann. He's the boy who voiced Pinocchio. He did an incredible job. I thought his voice was so beautiful, so childlike, but so much wonder. He did a fantastic job voicing this character. And I thought the songs and the music and the score of this movie were also beautiful, especially the song Ciao Papa. So heartbreaking. Um, I don't know what else to say, guys. It's a Pinocchio movie that made my top 10 list. You know it's got to be that damn good. So please check this out. Like I said in my Letterboxd review, I can't wait for my wife and I to have kids and be able to show this to them when they're older, because it is more mature take on the Pinocchio tale. There's some dark turns that this movie takes, but I think it's a beautiful movie and that one that kids should definitely watch. So, uh, yeah, guys, I'm recommending you to check out a Pinocchio movie. Go watch it. It's amazing. Coming in at number 8 is going to be All Quiet on the Western Front. This is the new Netflix movie that I think it's the third retelling of this story. It's a remake from a 1930s movie, and I think I got remade again in the 1970s. And so this is the new war movie released by Netflix, and I was very excited because I really like war movies, especially when they're done well. And this is probably one of the best ones I've seen in at least a decade. This movie is bleak as fuck. I will say that. I've never seen the 1930s one or the 70s one. This is the first time I've ever seen or heard this. Well, I knew about the original movie from the 30s. You know, it's a Best Picture winner, iconic war movie. But like I said, never seen it. And this movie, if there is an anti-war movie, this is definitely up there with them, because this movie makes you feel like war is hell. It is pretty much about these four. It's told by the German perspective, World War II. So like these guys are in support of Nazis and all that shit. And it shows as these four young boys who go into the World War II, and like right when, at first they're like all optimistic, like yeah, we're gonna do good for our country, and by the end of this movie, you are like, fuck, why would anyone ever want to go to war? I will say that all the battle sequences and everything, performances, production design, everything like that is outstanding in this movie. The score was really unique as well. I will say that the sequences involving Daniel Bruhl's character, where it kind of goes away from the war and shows the political aspect of it and like the higher ups and like them kind of controlling where the war is, what's going to happen with the war and where these men are going to go, kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. I kind of wish it would just focus on our main character and what he all has to go through. And yeah, this movie was very, very depressing. If it's a very well made movie, if you like war movies, definitely check it out. But it is not a movie you're going to rewatch too often. So, All Quiet on the Western Front, an excellent movie. It actually got a lot more Oscar nominations than I was expecting, probably more than anyone else was expecting. So, definitely check it out. Great movie, just not one you're going to rewatch too often. Coming in at number 7 is going to be RRR, otherwise known as, was it Rise, Roar, Revolt? I think that's what it stands for. The new movie from India that pretty much blew up the internet. This was a movie that I was very looking forward to based on all the positive reviews that it was getting, and it was coming straight to Netflix, so that was kind of nice that, we don't really get too many foreign films in theaters where I'm from. So being able to just watch this at home, it was really cool. I wish I would be able to experience it in theater, but anyways, this movie, same with Everything Everywhere All at Once, is unlike anything I've ever seen. RRR is a singular vision, and it was incredible. I loved almost everything about this movie. It is a 3 hour long, epic Indian, like, it is, I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just epic. Like, it's got action, it's got a musical, it's got heart, it's got some comedy, it's got romance. This movie has everything you could want in a movie, and it does everything beautifully. There is a dance sequence in this movie that a lot of people have probably seen. I actually got to show it to my wife because she teaches dance and she hasn't seen it yet. It is mind blowing, this dance sequence. I was like, I don't get into musicals and stuff. I thought this was so well done. The action sequences are so well filmed. It's so over the top. but it's so like you get so invested in it anyways, and the friendship of these two guys is so beautiful. RRR is one of the most unique movies I've seen in a long time. And I kind of wish it would have gotten more like Oscar attention because it definitely deserves it. So if you enjoy action movies, romance, musicals, anything, check this movie out. It has everything you could want in a movie. Maybe a little bit too long, but that's maybe my only critique of this movie. RRR is as good as everyone else has said it is. Coming in at number 6 is not only my favorite horror movie of the year, it's also one of my favorite theater experiences of the year, and that is Barbarian. This is a movie that I knew nothing about. I did not watch a trailer. Okay, I shouldn't say I didn't know nothing. All I knew was that it was Alexander Skarsgård, Justin Long, and a girl, and something about an Airbnb. That's all I knew. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't look into anything. And that is exactly how you should see this movie. So I was able to check this out in theaters, and I walked in the theater and I was the only one in there, which this is the kind of movie where you either want a full theater full of people and seeing their reactions to this movie, or I had another great experience, or the other best experience you could have, where I had the theater to myself. And it was so creepy. I'm not going to give anything away about this movie because if you haven't seen it, go in blind, check this movie out. Highest of recommends for Barbarian. Like I said, my favorite horror movie of the year. This movie is so batshit insane, and it is so unpredictable as to where it goes. There are so many twists and turns in this movie. I loved it. I fucking adored the theater experience I had with this movie. Just me in a dark theater watching this horror movie. I was so creeped out and loved every second. It is a movie that can have one of the most intense build-ups and instantly change to the next scene. And it is a totally different tonal shift in the movie. It's like straight up like one of the scariest things you've seen all year. And then one of the funniest things you've seen all year right after it. And it blends in so perfectly. I don't know how this movie is. It's so hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it. Please check out Barbarian if you have not. It's on HBO Max. I'm really upset that they're kind of fucking around with the physical media release of this movie. Just release it on Blu-ray. I adored this movie. Barbarian, highest of recommends. Check it out. Coming in at number 5 is going to be my favorite superhero movie of the year, and that is The Batman. I was super excited for this movie. This is Matt Reeves, who directed the last two Planet of the Apes movies, Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes, and also did Let Me In, which is a remake of Let the Right One In. I was very excited for this movie based on him just being the director alone, but then you also get Robert Pattinson in the Batman role, and I loved pretty much everything about this movie. This is a 3-hour-long Batman movie, and I was very nervous when they said that runtime, that was going to be a 3-hour-long movie, because I was like, fuck, there's going to be a lot of filler in there. I think there's one scene in this movie where you could probably cut it out, and it would make the movie better, and that is, spoilers, the scene with the Joker. That scene could have been a deleted scene. Other than that, I think this movie was incredible. This is probably my favorite version of Gotham that we've gotten in a movie. It's either this or the Tim Burton one from '89 and Batman Returns. I think the Gotham in this movie, like I said, is so dark and seedy and feels so lived in. I think Batman, Robert Pattinson, is so dark and brooding, but he's also like, you just feel like he's a guy who is so invested in being Batman, and he doesn't give a shit about being Bruce Wayne. But then at the end of the movie, you get this beautiful character arc where he realizes he has to be more than just dark and brooding. He has to give hope to the people of Gotham. The Riddler is an incredible villain, one of the best villains we've seen in a Batman movie in live action. And the rest of the cast, Zoe Kravitz, Andy Serkis, John Turturro, I think I don't know, it just is almost everything that I've ever wanted in a Batman movie, in a 3-hour-long Batman movie. I got to rewatch it because I've only seen it once in theaters, but I loved like I said, everything about that movie except for that Joker scene. I think that Joker scene, deleted scene, should have been. But awesome Batmobile, awesome action sequences, amazing score, cinematography. It's just everything you could want in a dark Batman movie, you get in that one. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Avatar, The Way of Water. I had such a great time with this movie in theaters. This is another one of my favorite theater experiences. Just being able to go to a theater and watch a big James Cameron epic on the screen. I think this is actually the first James Cameron movie I ever saw in theaters, because Avatar was the last one that came out in 2009. I didn't see it in theaters. And Titanic, I was only a year old. I was blown away by this movie. Technically speaking, the best of the year. Like visual effects, some of the cinematography, the shots, the actions, the action sequences, the colors, sound. I loved everything about this movie as far as that goes. Like technical and production design aspects go, loved it. The story, I think, is actually an improvement over the first one. The story in the first one gets a lot of people throw shit at it for being kind of a rehash of previous stories. Whereas this one, I feel like it was more original story, and I don't know, just like the characters a lot more in this one. I got a lot more invested in the Sully family, like Jake Sully and his family, and Natiri. And guys, the action sequences in this movie. I mean, the last hour of this film is just a straight up like hour-long action sequence, and I had the biggest smile on my face. I was just munching popcorn, drinking soda, and enjoying everything that was put on the screen in front of me. I will never get tired of seeing a big fucking blue alien person just launch an arrow into a dude's chest and like pin him to a wall. That will never not be entertaining to me. And you get so much of that in this movie, but you also get like I said, a lot more heart and emotion with the characters. And I don't know, it's just so awesome to be able to see a big, giant blockbuster on the screen that you can tell had a lot of care, a lot of heart and put into it, and I cannot wait for Avatar 3. I've never thought I would say that, but I cannot wait for Avatar 3. So I really like this movie. Some people might not have worked on too much, but I loved it. All right, we've hit the top 3, guys. And coming in at number 3 is not only the funniest movie I saw all year, it is maybe the funniest movie I've seen in maybe a decade, and that is Jackass Forever. Fuck, this is just the movie I needed this year. I haven't had a great comedy put in front of me in so long. Comedy is pretty much dead in Hollywood. Like, there's no straight up good comedies. There's like superhero movies or action movies that have good jokes in them. Just a straight up comedy. I fucking laughed so hard watching this movie. I love the Jackass franchise, always have, and being able to see a fourth one just put the biggest smile on my face. Watching these guys be so fucking dumb and idiotic and stupid, but having the time of their lives and doing stupid shit to put a smile on my face, I will always appreciate these guys. And some of the shit in this movie, oh my god, there was some nut trauma that people go through in this movie where I'm like, oh, like as a guy, I'm just like gonna vomit like watching it. And it's just like insane, some of the shit they do in this movie. But I don't know, just like a Jackass movie, these movies are just like made for me. I adore this stupid kind of humor. Like if you think this, like my wife hates these movies. She thinks this humor is so dumb that it just doesn't work for her. I love it. Like I had tears running down my face from laughing at some of the stupid shit in this movie. So Jackass Forever. If there's ever a time where I just need a good laugh, I will put these movies on. So it was just incredible that we finally got a conclusion, I guess, to these movies. And I also thought that all the new characters they brought in were also very funny as well. So if that's the last Jackass movie we ever got, I think they went out on a high note. Coming in at number 2 is maybe the biggest surprise of the year for everyone. Top Gun Maverick. Who expected this movie to be as good as it was? I definitely didn't. I actually only watched the first Top Gun movie about a week before this one came out. I don't have I don't have any relationship to that original movie. Like I said, I only seen it once, and that was a week before this came out. And so I had little to no expectations for this movie, except for the fact that it was Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie, who are the two, like, one of the best duos working in Hollywood. Those two, and what they've done, especially with the Mission Impossible franchise, is incredible. And who expected this movie to be not only as good as it was, but to be as big and celebrated and as watched as it was? This is like one of the 10 biggest movies of all time now. That is awesome. To see a movie that has so much care and heart put involved to the production. And say what you will about Tom Cruise, but as far as him being an actor and a producer on this movie, he is incredible for being able to tell Paramount, we are not putting this out on a streaming service. We are putting this in theaters where people can watch it on the biggest screen possible. And thank God he did, because not only did it help this movie make a lot of money, but it helped bring people back into theaters, which is where you should be watching movies all the time anyways. This was such a great theater experience. And honestly, like, I watched this movie at home with my wife. Like, I saw it in theaters, and then I bought it, and my wife and I watched it here at home. And even she loved it. And I talked about my wife watching some of these movies, and she didn't like any of them. She loved this movie, and she like recommended it to her parents and other family members. This is the one movie of the year that I would recommend to almost anyone. I think anyone could get enjoyment out of this. It has emotion. It has a lot of great humor in it. It is very well filmed. It has incredible action sequences, and the flying sequences are just like some of the best. Probably, they're the best I've ever seen. I'll just say straight up. They're the best flying sequences I've ever seen. I mean, Top Gun Maverick, I don't know what else I can say that hasn't been said about this movie. If you haven't seen it, you're like one of the 10 people on earth who hasn't seen it. Check it out. It is incredible. It is so much better than it has any right to be. But coming in at number one, my favorite movie of the year, a movie that was made for me. Like, I don't know like how, but this movie, like everything about this movie was made for me. And that is The Northman. I love Robert Eggers as a director. He is one of my favorite directors working nowadays. I love The Witch. I love The Lighthouse. The Northman might be my favorite one he's done so far, though. Like, I love Norse mythology, anything involving Vikings and stuff like that. Like the new God of War games, God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok, are my favorite video games of all time. And a lot of that has to do with the mythology and the lore in Norse lore or mythology like that. And I just loved everything about this movie. I think this is the most underrated movie of the year. I think directing wise, Robert Eggers is one of the best working nowadays. I think visuals, cinematography, the score of this movie, especially the ending. There is only one movie this year that has two dudes being naked fighting inside a volcano. That automatically has to make it my favorite movie of the year. That is so badass. And the brutal violence, some of the shots, the action sequences in this movie are just incredible. I love the story. This movie was like Robert Eggers just went into my mind. He's like, what does Tanner like about movies? And it's like, he like put it on the screen. I have almost no faults with this movie. I adored it. I think it is easily the most underrated movie of the year. The fact that it didn't get nominated for any Oscars or any attention from awards season, just crazy. Apparently people just don't like badass, big fucking epic movies. But The Northman, Robert Eggers, I have season tickets for you, man. Any movie you put out, I will be there day one. And The Northman, my favorite movie of 2022, and one of my favorite movie theater experiences of all time. I've adored this movie. So, yeah, The Northman coming in at number one. Well guys, that is my ranking of every new release that I watched in 2022. Please share down below in the comments what your ranking would be. What was your favorite movie of 2022, your least favorites, just some new releases you checked out this year. Please share the video if you can. Also like and subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't yet, for more videos. I was really excited to get this one out. I was really anticipating this video, so I'm glad to get it out to you guys. And yeah, until next time, take care guys.